It's great to have you all. I was just talking about the Starknet news. In case you haven't seen it yet, they literally just announced a token for Starknet and a governance model and token allocations, and that dApps can earn tokens based on fee usage of their smart contracts and stuff like that. Very exciting. Definitely check it out if you haven't yet. Literally just dropped this news. But anyway, welcome to the Matchbox Dev Call. It's great to see you all. We have 4 points on the agenda today. We have an update on the .NET SDK by Tom Rocks. We have an update on the game clock by AI Captain. We have an update on the MEV tools by DSI and potentially some more ideas about those. And then to round things off, we have a presentation of Whiplash by Riri, one of our newest grantees. And yeah, looking forward to that. And maybe we can actually use that for the dev calls in the future to kind of walk around in the Whiplash space, basically. Super cool. Anyway, I think we can get started. Tom Rocks, if you want to take the stage and tell us a bit about the .NET SDK and how it's going.
Yeah. I hope you hear me good, guys.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, nice. So yeah, I've been continuing to work on the .NET SDK. Currently, what I'm trying to make work is the possibility to add transactions to StarkNet. I had multiple blockers along the way, so to figure out what I need to build in .NET. I was looking at the Python CLI and the JavaScript library, trying to figure out how they were doing things. And yeah, I'm slowly getting more familiar with the system, how the transaction works, the different types of transactions. And I have some progress, but also new blockers coming. So right now I'm a bit stuck with the fees, not sure how to handle this. And yeah, new announcements, there will be a token that will be the new fee. It won't be Ethereum anymore. So again, some changes in the future. Apart from that, I uh, I received a comment in Discord about the C# language version. I think I mentioned this last time I spoke. So I made some changes in my library, so I hard coded the the C# version to be compatible with Unity. Did some cleaning up of the getters and slowly working also on some unit testing and integration testing to make sure that, yeah, with upcoming changes in Starknet or in the library, the SDK, everything still works the same. And yeah, that's about it. Really struggling a bit with those fees. Yeah, trying to read documentation. I'm getting more familiar with the Starknet documentation. There is a lot there. But that fee thing it's hard to find some information. Like the JavaScript library at first wasn't really handling those because from what I understand, at first all calls were free. And yeah, that's a bit my status at the moment.
Oh yeah, I can chime in on the fees a bit. So for the update today that they released with a token, so they want to use the starter token natively for fees, but they also mentioned you can still pay in ETH, and it's going to be basically abstracted away from the user in some way. So essentially you're going to have fee abstraction where you can pay in pretty much any token, and then under the hood maybe it gets swapped to the Stark token, or essentially, the rollup has to pay fee for settlement on Ethereum L1 in ETH anyway. So basically, everything is going to eventually get swapped to ETH anyway. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think just moving along with ETH as fee is fine for now. And in terms of the for the contract calls, they used to be free, but on mainnet now you actually have to pay for those fees. So that was a change they made a few weeks ago or maybe a month ago. So fees on mainnet, Starknet, you have to pay for those fees now. So they're not free anymore. That may not be up to date in their documentation. Um, Can you be a bit more precise in terms of what kind of issue you have with those fees? But maybe someone here can help you out with that because most people here have to deal with fees anyway. So um, can you be more
Yeah,
specific?
yeah, sure. So, I mean, right now I'm debugging the JavaScript library, for example, and I'm trying to run the different functions that they have in the documentation. Like they show how to deploy a new ERC20, deploy a new account. Also, there is all those different accounts. We have Argent, we have the Open Zeppelin contracts, we have and others. I imagine. I'm just like trying to figure out how all those pieces really connect together. And right now, I have exceptions about fees with that JavaScript library. And yeah, I'm just trying to investigate that. Not sure how I can give a bit more context to my issue.
Okay.
Are you working with like a local DevNet or on Gurley or?
I'm working with the test network. I've never actually
Okay.
run a local network.
Okay, so you mean Gurley then, the
Yeah,
Gurley
yeah, yeah.
test network. Okay, and if you do, so I'm not talking about like deployments, but if you call a function, are you using a contract that is an account contract on Gurley that has ETH in it?
Yeah, so probably
Because
not.
if not, yeah, because I mean that is the main change, right? It's like deployment of contracts that still should work, but as
Mhm.
soon as you interact with them, you have to make sure that your transaction always goes through an account contract that has ETH in it.
Even
And it's
on
going to be easier
Goerli.
if you, even on Gurley, yes.
Okay.
So the easiest thing would be if you have a look at, I think it's, yeah, the local DevNet, right? If you look at the Nile framework, I think they make it easy for you. If you use that, it automatically creates like 10 account contracts or something that has ETH in it. And it makes it a lot easier for you to test functions and so on and so forth. But I mean, yeah, it's just a matter of, I guess, going through some more of the documentation. And yeah,
Yeah.
it takes a while to get your head around that. Yeah.
So here you mentioned the Nile framework. Can you say a bit more?
I think you said you're using JavaScript, right?
I
For
mean,
your
I'm
development.
building
So,
an SDK in C# in .NET, but I'm
ah,
I'm doing my investigation with the JavaScript library to understand the logic of sending transaction and stuff.
okay. I mean, I haven't been using JavaScript that much. I've been using more the Protostar or the Python, StarkNet Python library. But Nile is just, if I can remember correctly, I think Open Zeppelin created that sort of framework or library to easier work with JavaScript and do deployments and stuff there. So if you look at the Nile, just Google like Open Zeppelin Nile Cairo, you'll find their GitHub and maybe their documentation is going to help you along more as well.
Okay.
But to be honest, I haven't used it that much as well. I just know about it, but I haven't used it that much. Maybe, yeah. If you know Python, I mean the Python. It's called like StarkNet Python or something. You'll find it as well from Software Mansion. They have a good documentation as well when it comes to, I think, just accounts and yeah, just how they use it, how they sign stuff, and so on and so forth. So maybe if it's you want to build an entirely new SDK, maybe that's more transparent than the JavaScript ones. But I'm not sure. I wouldn't know.
Okay, yes, I found that. So there is some Python implementation, but not done by Starkware. It's someone independent, right?
Yes, but I think Starkware has also I mean, someone can correct me, but I think Starkware has also officially created a library. And this one, Starknet.py by Software Mansion, is by a third party. But
Okay.
I mean, I use it. It's quite good as well.
Okay, yeah, thanks for the resources. It will be helpful for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Charmox, and thank you, Fresh Pizza. Pizza, you should kind of attend all of these dev calls, to be honest. It's great to have people that chime in and help out. I think that's the whole purpose of Matchbox. So really great to see, and thanks a lot for chiming in. Um, if we don't have any other questions or remarks on the .NET SDK, then we can move on to the game clock by I Captain.
Yeah. So I basically worked on the fund and unfund functions, and so I realized that I needed to create a mapping which would basically go from like the contract would have some fund, but there would also be a mapping which needs to store against each address. So right now, where the game clock stands right now is that there are fund and unfund functions that are completed. Apart from that, there is also like whitelisting of the contracts that's been done. So those two parts have been finished. Now the idea I have to implement Cairo or a tree type data structure to work on the next step. Like the tree type data structure is the left. So I created a data structure, which was not exactly tree, but it was a list of structs, and that functions well, but that was dependent on the uh, queue of functions that needs to be called on smart contract. So yeah, that's one thing that's still remaining, like to integration part. So yeah, that's about it from my end. Yeah, there were multiple blockers that I faced. One of the biggest one was that the contract needs to execute uh, smart functions from different. That's
Sorry to
that's all from my side.
can I interrupt you really quickly? Your mic seems to be having some issues. It's really hard to understand you. Can you try to fix that somehow?
Is this better now?
It's better. Can you move it a bit closer to you, maybe?
Yeah, actually, I'm kind of outside, so I guess there would be some disturbances.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's okay now. Can you quickly repeat in general terms of what has been finished and what is left to do?
Yeah, so the first step would be and if we go by the flow of the user or developer that's going to use this library, the first part is going to be that there needs to be whitelisting that needs to be done. So there would be someone who would be manually kind of whitelisting all the smart contracts. So that's the step one. Because and then the second step would be to fund it. Like basically they would have to fund it to pay for the gas fees. So that's done. So fund and unfund for the gas fees is done. Now I created a data structure, kind of a tree-like data structure, which was not specifically for this. Like I created it independently very initially, but I am yet to integrate it to this code specifically. So that's still under construction. So that part's left. The integration of yeah, that's about it. Yagi with the integration of Yagi with the data structure is left, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, do you have any issues or pain points or blockers that you have come across that you need to discuss or find a solution to?
Yeah, I actually had two blockers, but I already discussed that on dev carry. They were blocked. So yeah, there's no blockers. They are blockers, but I would have to frame it more properly to kind of discuss it. And I can do that on text better. So I will do it,
Okay,
if
sure.
that's okay.
Sure, yeah. And so, how do you plan on overcoming them? Is it like a super big issue, or do you just need a bit of dev help or like some tips or someone to tell you how to solve a specific issue, and then you'll be good?
Uh, I think I would have to study the Open Zeppelin Cairo code and and kind of debug that code a little bit. I think I would be able to resolve that. Yeah, that's about it. I think that's the yeah that's
Okay, great. And I think you mentioned that you target end of July to be finished with the whole project, right?
yeah.
All right, that's great. Thank you for updating us. Do we have any questions for the game clock, or anyone who wants to offer help, who knows? I think you mentioned Open Zeppelin. You have something with some issue with Open Zeppelin and the Cairo code. Do we have anyone that wants to or can chime in on that? If we don't have anyone, then I would like to move on to DSI and MEV tools, and some updates on that, and also maybe branching off into some directions there. So I'll let you take the mic, DSI.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everybody. So yeah, I will quickly share my screen this time. Okay. So okay. Tell me if that work.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, perfect. So what I've been building so far is basically a suite of classes to analyze realm contracts, realm activity. I've been creating tools to get the data, analyze the data, and also a lot of my focus was on tools to run strategies, and those will be used to make an example of a strategy that someone could do on Realm. So what I've been built so far is basically three main categories of basically all of those are classes, so they regroup functionalities for each important part of the game. So first is a focus on the game, which is basically classes to interact directly with the realm contracts. Yeah, so there are many contracts and you can do many things with the game. So it basically abstracts this so that anyone could make script easily. It doesn't have to implement every function and anything. I also added a player and a player view class. So in those class, it will be to basically model a player and get data from a player and also allow him to perform certain actions within the game. So like harvest all functionalities, which is basically you would harvest all the resources for all of your realms, which is not doable yet, but things like that. The second big folder is the organizer. So basically, it takes the raw data on startnets, so basically a call data of a transaction, and it take a block, take all the transaction, and just filter the realm transaction. And then with those filtered realm transaction, it organize them into readable data. I will show you the difference between a raw call data and an organized transaction later. And then there are the analyzers, which take this organized data and allow someone to perform certain actions to analyze a player, what is he doing, how does he play the game, what is the state of this player, and basically take all the data and allow someone to get a broader view of what he is doing. Yeah, so basically what it does now, so yeah, so this is basically the data I receive. So all of those are blocks, and you have all the transactions related to realms, and you can see all the events that have been triggered by transaction. So you can see it's really readable. You can see what function have been called with what arguments and everything. You can also see the function calls. So here it was just an approval of tokens, but you can see if he attacked a certain realm or if he claimed resources or things like that. This is the work of the whole project. yeah, so there is not that much player yet, so data is a little bit small. I said big here, but I changed something yesterday and it made it much smaller. So this is not true anymore. So yeah, the realm organizer is basically take data, organize it, and that's the base building block. Something I'm really happy about is that in the package I made it so that anyone could use it really easily. It's made with a way to quickly and easily get into the game and building strategies because everything is built in, so it's really easy to organize data. No need to import every contracts to get the addresses, and yeah, everything is built in so that you can just in one line start organizing data and see what's happening. So then, yeah, basically another class within the analyzer is the player analyzer. So basically, what you can do is like you get all the transactions of each particular user, and you can see how many transactions they did, what transactions they did, and get a summary of their action. And so just to show the difference, so here would be a raw transaction, like that you could see without what I've been building. So you would just see something like that. So I mean, you can't really do anything with that. And what I do is that I take all this data and basically translate it into something like that. Where so you have as you can see, the events that have been done, the function calls. So here you would see with what it interacted and with what call data, like I showed here. So you'd see the arguments and everything. So it's really easy to like see what someone is doing now. Yeah, you can also see what realm he owns. So yeah, basically getting data of a particular player. You can also see what kind of function he is calling on chain. So basically getting a summary of, yeah, he claimed the resources 17 times, approved 30 times, bought some token, building some building. Yeah, basically getting a summary. And what I want to do now, there is a lot of things that I want to keep building, and I get more ideas the more I build, and the more the game evolves. So this is just a small chunk of the thing I want to continue building. So, watching what kind of realm will he attack, what kind of resources does he want to get, and yeah, basically more information about how we play the game. Right now, it's more of what's the state of the game and what the state of each player. But I want to keep building to see how each player play the game. Yeah. And yeah, so basically another thing. So basically what it does, it gets data for each realm, see what building do they have. So basically you could see this on the UX, but what I want to do is something tool to quickly get, for example, the most profitable realms to attack, or the strongest realms, or things like you things that you can't really see on the UX, and to basically filter rank. Yeah, I made a small ranking system to get the weakest realms. I want also to do the realms with the most resources and basically mix this together to make strategies basically. Yeah, so basically what I just said, some to do that I have in mind. So those are just the main classes that I've been working on, but there is really lots of classes that have been written, but are less interesting to talk about. So this is basically what I'm working on for the on-chain tools. And like I was discussing with Swatimus, I was also thinking about using all of these tools to basically make a protocol and like a community protocol for the realm game, using all of those tools to basically make a protocol that would manage your realm. So make either basic actions for the game. So harvest could be harvesting resources every 8 hours, or attacking every 8 hours, or something like that. It could also be more complex with custom made strategies. So, for example, I don't know, accumulating X resources, or yeah, things like that. I have to read the new master scroll that have been released today, and it provides much more complex mechanism. So I think, yeah, there is a lot of things that can be done. And yeah, this can be very exciting to work on that. I started working a little bit on this because I had a few problems which are solved now, but I didn't find any solution at the time. So I started with a small staking mechanism, and yeah, it's ready to be built on top of the tools. So yeah, yeah. One more thing is that Soltimus, you were talking about making a protocol that would perform some action for realms, and that maybe this could be used in other games. Which I mean, right now I don't see how this could be done, because this requires some contracts and also some off-chain tools which are really specific to realms. So right now I don't see how this could be adapted to other games. But yeah, anyway, that's something I'm working on on the side, and yeah, I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I wanted to discuss about it because it's a little bit related to what I'm building so far, a little bit related to the grant as well. So that's about it.
Yeah, first of all, I love that this is taking shape the way it does. And obviously, when I talked about potentially using this in other games, then obviously for other games you would have to use the kind of infrastructure and tools that would be specific to those games, right? So I wasn't talking about reusing the exact same thing for other games, but you know, you could potentially build this kind of tool for other games as well, the same way you built it for realms, right? Taking the game specific tools and things like that. So potentially there's a potential there for creating a protocol that is basically an abstraction layer on top of these games that can provide certain actions and building blocks for these actions abstracted as a service to players or to guilds or stuff like that, right? That's kind of the direction I was thinking.
Yeah, okay, I see.
But obviously, very early on that front, so it totally makes sense to focus on realms for now and see how it goes. But I do think there's potential there to take this into that direction if you have the time to do that, of course, for different games. But we could also talk about supporting you on that. So I think it's exciting and definitely a valid use case, and I think it has potential. So yeah, cool update. I like the way this is going. I like the direction it's headed in. So thank you for updating us. Do we have any questions for DSI?
I just had a quick comment. I think the Realms protocol thing sounds quite similar to how you would have to do that. Would be similar to how I'm setting up guilds. So I think, yeah, definitely be great to have a conversation with you, DSI. I'll be very interested. Is it as well difficult because at the moment all the data that you're getting is from the Realms indexer, and that's just for Realms transactions. So it's obviously you can't get the data for all the other games.
So right now I'm getting all the data on chain, like directly from the contracts, just to get like a more precise, like yeah, it's basically the most basic data you can get, and you're certain that there is no delay, there is no like corrupted data. I mean, yeah, it's just from the blockchain. So I'm not sure about if I'm answering your question or not, but Feel free
No,
to.
yeah, it makes sense. You're getting all blockchain data for everything, not just for realms, events, and transactions.
Oh yeah.
Cool. No, it's cool. Thanks.
So, DSI, have you looked into the Starknet indexer that we recently had on the DevCon? Because they're indexing all of the Starknet data, and it gets indexed like super fast, so might be very, very useful for you.
Yeah, it might be useful actually. Yeah, I will take a look into it. Yeah, see how that would work, if that would work better or not. Yeah, I will check it.
Yeah, definitely recommend you to check that out. I think it could be a great help if the other way of currently doing it is too slow or too difficult, or whatever the issue is with that. But yeah, really like it. Really like the way it's going. Thank you, DSI, for the update.
No problem.
Last but not least, we have Riri here from Whipland. Riri, do you wanna walk us through Whipland and talk about it and what it's all about and what you can do with it and so on and so forth?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I have a bit of a presentation prepared. It's actually, just give me a sec. I'm just gonna jump a little bit, I guess, because probably a lot of you don't know what WIP 1.0 is, but I'll already be talking about the future of WIP. So, so first, let me introduce what WIP 1.0 is, and it's best to go check it out at this URL, play.wip.land. But essentially, what we're building is a kind of gather town for the Web3. So a place for people to go hang out and with their Web3 community, whether it be DAOs or NFT projects. And the idea is, our goal is to solve community. So, and the key problem that we see is that crypto communities are really victims to market fluctuations. Basically, when it goes down, no one's interested in cryptos anymore. And that's obviously a really big problem for founders, because what that means is that if you're unlucky with the timing of your product, then suddenly you're struggling with like churn all the time. And so we were really wondering how do we create a way for founders to have a kind of lock-in effect on their community. And so what we currently have running is, those of you who are familiar with GatherTown will find it very familiar with GatherTown. So it's a 2D game where you can jump into video calls with other users, and the idea is for it to be a space for community calls, for AMAs like this one, and to have it with a bit of a Web3 flavor, because there's token gating, so you can only access certain areas if you have the right token, and there is swaps. I mean, there's going to be, hopefully in the future, swaps and more on-chain interactions as we go along. Like I said, I want to talk also a little bit about our vision, because I think it would be interesting for us to know what you guys think of it. I'd be curious to hear your feedback. So basically, what we see that's working is that in general, there's a bit of a wow effect when you go on our game and you're like, oh wow, that's really fun, and it works very well. I mean, technically, the video conferencing tool that we use underneath is very smooth and works very well. But what doesn't work is that we are ourselves struggling with churn, basically. We're trying to solve it for other people, but we are ourselves struggling with it, which is people go on our game, but then they don't stay on it. And that's what we're trying to solve with 2.0. And also, we were until now struggling a little bit with branding and finding a very clear way to communicate about what we're building. So this is what we have in mind is WIP 2.0. So these images they don't belong to us, but that's where we're headed. And the idea is that we want to be a Web3 social game. where the main mission is to keep crypto communities happy. The way we want to do that is by creating this kind of top-down universe where people walk around and interact with their friends. So kind of similar to what we have currently, with a bit of a visual change. And our focus is on enabling acquisition, but especially retention, so that people stay on their platform, stay interested in the crypto projects that they joined in the first place. A tool to get there is gamification. So first we want to focus on arcade games, and here there's a chessboard which isn't arcade at all, but I think there is something quite addictive about chess, and that would be kind of a proof of concept for how much people want to be playing games with randoms that just happen to have stumbled on the same crypto project as them. And if it turns out that people are interested in that, our vision in the long run is to try to build MMORPG with the same vision, which is that we want people to go online, have a good time, not feel like their interest to crypto project has to be a super boring experience, but it can be something that they really have fun doing, and also kind of a wholesome internet experience where they're not asked to pay for stuff all the time, and they can just have like a relaxing, fun time with their friends. So yeah, that last slide is the key changes from where we are now. So yeah, we want to scrape away all the productivity side of it, because we feel like it would just be more exciting for us to build something fun. We're also going to change, obviously, the graphics and and go from having something that currently is fully pixel art to having something in 3D and isometric, and that's I think that's basically it. But the vision is quite big. We want to. It's going to be also quite dependent on our resources and what we're able to pull off, but. We want to build something that we have fun building, and it's going to take the time that it's going to take. But that's essentially where we're taking this. I feel like this might have been a bit of an abstract presentation for those of you who've never tried our current product, but I would love for our product to be used for some of Matchbox's events, because that would be also a great proof of concept for us to get more users, get their views on what we're building. So yeah, that's a wrap.
Awesome, thank you. I guess one question I have, which is probably a stupid question, but if we use Whipland, do you have like built-in voice chat, or like how does that work?
Yeah, we do. So we use GT as, which is a kind of Zoom alternative that's completely white labeled as voice chat, but it does video conferencing. It does exactly the same as Zoom would.
Gotcha. And in terms of like, if you go to Whipland right now, what kind of things can you do right now, apart from like video conferences and calls and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, that's really the main thing at the moment. I mean, the other thing is token gating. So you have certain areas where you can't access if you don't have the right token. And the idea would be to create a kind of a club for people to just not end up in a call with people you have nothing in common, but end up in a call with people that you share interest and a token with. And that's because we felt actually that token gating and identity was really one of the most exciting things about cryptos, and so we wanted to really capitalize on that.
Got it. I think one idea off the top of my head that I would have would be that if you go to one of those worlds and have a call, then you could like do something where people can like mine a resource, and then you can attach the mined amount to their NFT, like to an NFT that they own, or to their Starknet wallet, and then you can use that basically to measure the attendance of people in calls or stuff like that, right? And that can be like more gamified, right? So that mining the resource takes a bit of time on the call, stuff like that, right? Similar to like Minecraft, where you have to use a pickaxe and stuff like that. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's potential for gamification there in some ways, which makes it more fun, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I mean, the problem I can foresee with it is that it just selects for a certain kind of public that's only taking part in the calls because of the financial rewards. And that's also a bit of a puzzle, which is you don't want people to just be farming calls because they think they're going to get tokens out of it, and because that's a shit audience, obviously. So yeah, gamification and rewards are always a bit tricky as well. But yeah, I think I take your suggestion. I think that's a good one, and it's a hard line to walk, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. Like I didn't mean that the token necessarily has value or that the resource has value, but just for now, so people can have some kind of small fun activity and have that have the attendance reflected in their wallet or as an NFT or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to have value, or even any promises of value, so you can kind of avoid the typical airdrop farmers. And also you can obviously combine that with token gating, right? So you only give access to a good audience in the first place, and then they can still mine resources to kind of record
Yeah.
their attendance and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's worth exploring.
But I'm sure
Thanks, man.
you guys have a ton of other ideas you would like to pursue, but this is just something that I had off the top of my mind, top of my head, and yeah, if something like that works, we will be happy to use that in Matchbox for dev calls, for events, for hackathons, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to try it out together in the future.
For sure. We can actually use it on the next dev call and give it a try if it's ready.
Yeah, it is totally ready. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, sure. Sounds great. Is it like how easy is it to get on a plant? Is it just pasting the link in the browser and then it works, or
Yeah, basically, there's very little login. I mean, there is. So you'll be prompted for wallet connection, but you don't actually have to connect with your wallet if you don't want to. So yeah, it's pretty trivial to use.
Got it. That's great. I think low friction is super important for something like this. Because nobody wants to kind of sign up and go through 10 steps before they can make it in, right? So that's great.
Yeah. None of that.
Awesome. Yet, do we have any questions or suggestions for Berry and Whipland? I feel like this could also be kind of a part of a guild system, right? Where you can set up a hangout session and have the Whipland world kind of modeled after the game that you're playing, or the game that your guild is primarily playing. So definitely potential there as well. So maybe Sam could be interested in that. You could just throw a link to Whipland on the guild page of the game or something like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's cool. One other thing I was going to say was I actually used to play this game called World Wide Web Land, or World Wide Web, I think it's called. It's quite a similar idea. I think what really stood out with that they were potentially mentioning, and what I would prefer in these type of games, is if it's mainly community centric. So if I have a game idea, I could just implement it straight off the bat without much friction. Instead of the people behind the game having to implement all of these different gaming ideas, and really just leaving it out to the community and maybe just moderating it. So yeah, but also the guild idea is really cool, and if I could do something with that in WIP, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, what you said, your first idea of making it a game that the players used to are able to build as well. I think that's quite aspirational. I mean, yeah, I definitely see the value in it. I think it's really hard at this point to find exactly how to make that work, because it's already hard enough to build a game, but to build tooling for other people to build on your game is a tool. I mean, that would be truly amazing. But so far, I have no idea how to even start thinking about this.
Cool. No, sounds good. I'm excited to follow it.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Rary, for the presentation. Looking
Yeah, thanks
forward,
for having me.
of course, looking forward to what you come up with for WIP 2.0 and what kind of gamified features you have in store. Yeah, looking forward to that. I definitely think there's potential for the kind of idea I mentioned. It's just really about kind of weeding out the airdrop farmers and speculators and kind of making it a experience that doesn't distract from the core goal of having a call on there or hanging out there. So for sure interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to what you guys come up with.
So yeah, just on that point, I mean, I think in the long term vision, I think is somewhat similar to what you suggested, which is, I mean, if we go the route of building a MMORPG, then I think the economy of the game would be the kind of reward. So, for instance, if you spend your day, fighting monsters with people from your guild, then that's kind of, I mean, you would get like whatever, some gold or whatever, and that may keep people interesting, and still keep that social component of also being there for something else than just a game, for also for the community. If I'm making sense right now. But something more than just picking, just mining, clicking on a piece of rock to mine something, but also actually fighting monsters or whatever.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I guess it kind of depends on if you want to shift your focus entirely on basically building a game, or if it's still should kind of retain this kind of productivity or collab kind of focus. I think
Yep.
that's a difficult decision to make, and how it should look in the end. That's
Yeah,
maybe
totally.
hard to find out. But I do think there's potential. I think maybe one way of doing this would be to go down the route of integrating this with Sam's skill system, and then you could potentially offer kind of worlds that are modeled after the different games that are inside the guild, and then you could maybe offer kind of mini games based on these games, or kind of like meta games, or guild activities, um, potentially stuff like that, right? Where guilds can hang out, and you can have like a lottery for that guild for in-game items, or you could have an auction house room where you auction off certain in-game items to members of your guild. Things
Yeah.
like that. I think that has potential.
Yeah, is there a link that I could read up on Sam's project? Or could you
Yeah.
paste it in the chat here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can post anything in the chat here, but yeah, I'll send it to you. Send it to you on Discord.
Sweet, thanks.
I'm going to write all the stuff that Swag's mentioning as well. I think it sounds really cool.
Awesome. Okay. Really cool. Thank you guys. Um, I have like a general question to all of you, and that's about the format of this call. Do you think that this is a good format? Do you wish for any changes to this? Do you think it's fine the way these calls work right now? Do you have any suggestions, any improvements, anything that you really dislike? And please be open about it. Like I can take criticism, so just go ahead and just throw anything out there. I would love to hear it.
I personally like the way it's organized. And, I think it's clear, you can follow easily, and I personally like it.
Awesome. Great to hear. Any other criticism or suggestions or feedback, please tell me. You can also text me if you don't want to say it out loud. But I really want to kind of provide a good experience for everybody, so that this actually has value, right? So please don't hesitate to get back to me and suggest any kind of improvements you can think of. I would really love to hear it. But if there's nothing right now, or D-Doc, Do you want to say anything?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I think you've done a really good job at hosting the event. It's been entertaining. Like one thing that I guess could be
Sorry, I'm very sorry to interrupt you, but you're really hard to understand. Can you move closer to the microphone or fix it somehow?
This is better.
Oh yeah, much better.
All right. Yeah. So what I was saying is, I think you've done a really good job at hosting the call and just like bouncing, like just keeping it pretty like dynamic and entertaining. Maybe one thing that could be room for improvement is have some more background on some of the projects maybe before they present, so that it's not like a complete discovery.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Makes sense. Do you want me to do that, or should the projects themselves talk a bit about themselves in general before they jump into updates and discussions?
Maybe like the projects could write like just a few bullet points so that we can read up on it if that makes sense, or just do our own research.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Then let's do it from now on. So if you come to the call, then introduce your project briefly, like generally, what are you about? What's the gist of what you're doing? So we all are in the same picture and can follow along. That's a great point, actually. Thank you. All right. If we don't have anything else, then I would like to wrap up this call. It's been great to see you all. Hope to see you around. We are going to announce the hackathon winners on Sunday, so that's going to be very exciting. If you haven't read the Starknet token announcement yet, it literally just dropped today, so go ahead and read that. I think it's very interesting. Has some interesting implications for smart contract devs on Starknet. And apart from that, I think I will see you guys next week. We might have another call on Friday, but I will look into that if we are going to announce that. But anyway, you will hear about it if we announce it. But other than that, we will see you guys hopefully next week on the next dev call. And on Sunday, I'm not sure if we are going to host a call for the winners. I'll check up on that. But yeah, see you definitely next week on Wednesday for the dev call. And it's great to see you all. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you. Thanks Bye. a lot.
Bye.